Hey people of the VC, it's Andy Cloudy Mulder with an 80s vinyl collection update. All thrash in this one. Been quite a while since I did any kind of vinyl update, and the inbox has been growing, so I think it's time that I showed off what I've got so I can get this stuff processed away. As I say, all thrash metal this time. Been on a bit of a thrash kick. Had a bit of luck on eBay and an impromptu dig when I was down in Birmingham visiting family a couple of weeks back, and I resulted in quite a few albums. Kind of blew my budget for the month. I made the mistake of doing some minimum bids on eBay, and then, as I say, I managed to get on a go digging, and I didn't expect to go digging, and I found some stuff I just couldn't leave behind. And then I ended up winning the eBay auctions as well. I'm not disappointed because of what I found, and I'll show you that in a minute. But it was just a little bit more expensive than I'd kind of hoped for this month. So I'm on a lockdown at the moment. But let me show you what I've got. First up was I couldn't believe I actually saw this in the wild. So this is by Inheritance by Danish band Artillery. This is their third album, and this is bordering on thrash metal perfection in my eyes. It sounds completely amazing. Everything just comes together on it to make a monster of a thrash metal album. It's aggressive, it's technical, but it's also melodic in places as well. It's just my type of thrash. It's got kind of clean-ish vocals on it, and it's not too aggressive in style. I do like some of the aggressive stuff, but I've got to be in the mood for it. The really aggressive stuff, and I've got an example of that later. But I've got to be really in the mood for it. But this is something I could listen to at any time. Vocals remind me a little bit of David Wayne from Metal Church, that's right. Low point is there is a cover of Razamanaz from Nazareth on here. Now, not that it's a bad cover, I actually think they've done quite a good job with it, but it's just completely out of character with the rest of the album, and it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, like a lot of covers tend to do on albums. Yeah, I was stoked to find this, so I had a quick cheeky look on Discogs before I decided to purchase it, and it goes in this condition for around £40 on Discogs, and I picked it up for much less than half that, so that wasn't going to stay in the shop, especially with a nice the inner sleeve in such mint condition. And this is 1990 actually, so as usual, my 80s does go over into sort of early 90s as well. But yeah, it's on the Road Racer label. So yeah, that was a great find. Really happy to have picked that one up. The next one as well, I couldn't believe I saw this as well. Now, this is a band I'm not really that familiar with, but I'm sure I've seen it shown on the VC. And when I looked up on my phone and saw that it was Christian thrash metal, I figured, yeah, I had to have found it on the VC. I'm sure someone like Scott or Ron or one of the other guys that is really quite heavily into Christian metal would have shown it. That's Believer, and this is Extraction from Mortality. And now this is my kind of I mean, I don't necessarily go out and look for Christian metal, but I don't necessarily avoid it. I think there's a lot of crap Christian metal out there, to be honest with you. A lot of it is very sickly sweet, and the lyrics are, it's just the same thing on every song. But this is different. This isn't so much, this isn't in your face, and the fact that the vocals are actually quite sort of shouty, and the lyrics on the back are so tiny that I don't think the message necessarily comes across anyway, unless you've got a magnifying glass to read them at the back. But I know it doesn't necessarily offer anything new to the genre. It's quite generically sounding thrash sound in places, but it still has a couple of surprises up the sleeve. Certainly very listenable. Shadow of Death and the title track Extraction from Mortality are really, really good. In fact, the title track has really good... I mean, the start of it is really strange because it's violins and violas, and it just really works with the song as it really builds up and then gets into the thrashy elements of the song. So absolutely killer find. Again, this is something on Discogs that goes £40 plus, certainly in this condition. And again, got it a hell of a lot cheaper than that. I honestly don't think this shop has heard of Discogs, which is much to my advantage. Although it wasn't really a shop that specialised in metal, to be honest with you. There was just one. It was like a place that had like the flip bins as you go through, and it had maybe 50 records that were in the metal section, of which I picked up about 5, 3 of which I'm showing today because they're in the thrash bracket. Another couple will come up later on. So I probably took home about 10% of the metal from the shop, and maybe if they priced this one around the £40 to £50 mark, they probably would never have sold it. But the price they certainly did sell it, and I grabbed it up. I kind of figured that even if I didn't like it when I got it home, I'd be able to get my money back, and more so. But I do like it, and I am going to keep it. And it's on Rex Music. This is a European pressing. This is from 1989. No inner sleeve to talk about, really. And yeah, even probably a bigger surprise when I started researching was I found the second Believer album there as well. This was called Sanity Obscure from 1990. From what I can gather, this was never pressed in the US, and these are a US band, I suppose. There, and they're still going today. But this has never been pressed in the US, and it's never been repressed as well, to my knowledge. Instantly noticed the production level has gone up between these two albums. This sounds much richer and far better produced. The sound is changing though. I mean, it's still very generic thrash in places, but there's a move to sort of a more progressive thrash sound in here. Sort of numerous tempo changes in the song thrown into the mix. Insanity Obscure is probably one of my favourite tracks on here. It's a great opener on the album. Days of Wrath. That's a weird one. But it's weird in a really good way. It's very, very atmospheric. Female vocals on it. It's like a Latin chant to start with, and then it kind of moves into a bit of a Celtic, Celtic folk type tune. I'm really selling this to you, aren't I? But then it intermingled with like the fast guitars as well, and it just works. It's brilliant stuff. But Dust to Dust is probably the best sort of kick-ass thrash tune on here. But then comes the kick in the teeth. The last song on here, Like a Song. When I heard it again, I thought that doesn't fit, so I had to look it up, and I figured it's probably a cover. And when I found out it was a cover of a U2 song, I was very, very disappointed. I was horrified that any metal band would go anywhere near a U2 song. As you can tell, I'm just not a fan of U2. I think if I were to get some very fine-grained sandpaper and remove that track from the record, it would probably turn it from a £40 album to maybe an £80 album in an instant. But we shall see about that. I'm not going to do that, don't worry. But yeah, absolutely a great find, because I know this is difficult. I know there's at least one of you out there has told me it's a grail. So, but I really do like it, and I am going to keep it. Sorry. Again, great condition. There's a little bit of sort of water damage or coffee damage maybe on the lyric sheet. On the inner, sorry, it's an inner sleeve rather than just a lyric sheet. And this is on the RC label, as I say, European pressing. surprised that didn't actually get a release in the US on vinyl. I don't know if in 1990 that vinyl was pretty much dead in the US. I don't think so. But given, I think that the US had a bigger Christian metal following than Europe, I'm just surprised it didn't get released on vinyl over there as well. But there we go. Next up, this was a kind of a bit of a blind buy. This is one of the ones on eBay where I put a minimum bid on and I won, and delighted to win it because I got it for an absolute steal. And this is Holy Terror, Terror and Submission. This is 1986. It's a UK pressing on Under One Flag, and I don't think much of the. I think the cover's a little bit lame. I like the back cover though. That would make an awesome album cover, I think. I think that would have been better if they'd chosen that one. But Holy Terror is was formed by here we go, Kurt Kilfelt after he left Agent Steel, and it's a very you can hear the Agent Steel influences in here. It's on the thrash speed metal crossover, but it's not safe thrash. It's a bit dirty, it's fast, it's aggressive, it's got grisly vocals, but the vocals for me really stand out here. I'm a vocal person, to me that makes or breaks an album. Sometimes they're crystal clear, sometimes they're piercing screams, other times it's really gravelly, and he's just got such a almost a random range in his voice. This is Keith Dean. It's brilliant, it really does work. I don't think there's a bad song on here. Blood of the Saints, that's a killer song. Mortal Fear, another great song. Distant Calling, it's just brilliant. Ultimately, yeah, not a bad song here. I would thoroughly recommend, if you've not heard Holy Terror, to check them out. That again came with an inner with the lyrics and your very neatly laid out thrash metal collage. They've clearly spent some time making sure the photos are all aligned on there, so well done, boys. Yep. Let's say on the Under One Flag label, which was kind of a subsidiary of Music for Nations. Even down to it's got the same office address for the label. Next up, this was another eBay one. This is a Wrath, Insane Society. This is another 1990, I think. Yeah, 1990 on Medusa. This is a Dutch pressing. I've seen someone show this recently, maybe Farley, I don't recall. Yeah, when I saw it again, put the minimum bid on and won, I was stoked. I absolutely love that cover. It's kind of, it's obviously very simple concept to it, but I love it in a really kind of creepy, evil sort of way. Yeah, brilliant, love it. Back is obviously very plain though. No inner, no pictures of the band. But it's their third album. It's good, kind of chugging, wholesome thrash metal, and it's kind of got some of those funky bass grooves that were par of the course with 90s thrash. Nothing particularly outstanding about it, but it's well executed and very, very bassy indeed. So there we go. Yeah, really pleased with that one. Again, that was a minimum bid, so tends to go for double what I paid for it on Discogs. So if I ever had to sell my collection, which touch wood, hopefully that will never have to happen, I should be okay with these ones to feed my family for a day or two. And that's on the say the Medusa label, quite a plain label. Dutch pressing. And last of the bunch, an album which I think is probably very, very familiar, whereas I was saying that what was it? Artillery was more kind of on the speed, and Wrath was kind of chugging, good paced head thrash metal, and I was talking about sort of really dirty, aggressive thrash metal that I've really got to be in the mood for. This is one of those albums. This is full on melt your face off thrash metal, and it's Eternal Nightmare by vio-lence. If you've not heard this album, you want to hear it. I know Farley has done a recent rip of I think the reissue, so check that out. Notice the differences. So those of you that in the US that have US pressings, UK pressing doesn't seem to have it. Actually doesn't have the name of the album down here for some reason. Again, looking on Discogs, things like the German version does, the US version does. So I don't know why on the UK, and this is a 1988 MCA original, that why it's not there. I don't know why they would change just that bit of it. The lyrics are actually on the back cover. As you can see, the back cover is not in great shape. It's got a slit, actually split along there. You can't read the spine. So this is what VG at best. But the cover has done a fantastic job of protecting the record, which is in beautiful condition. On first glance, it looks mint, but when you really look at it under the light, it does have those faint hairline marks you kind of expect on a record that's 30 years old. But as on MCA, notice as well that they don't have the hyphen within the vio-lence on the label. But yeah, this is absolutely killer album. Now on Discogs, the US and the German version show an inner sleeve. This paper inner sleeve looks pretty original, but on Discogs it doesn't show the UK's. There are no pictures of the UK one having a sleeve. So if you do have a UK pressing of this, let me know if you have a sleeve and whether I've got a partially incomplete copy. But again, in that condition, it can go for around £20 on Discogs. I paid a little bit more than half of that, so I'm really happy with that. I've got to have a shout out as well. eBay often gets a lot of sellers often get a bad rap on eBay for packaging. This was what it came in. I mean, how about that for stiffeners? We've got 4 extra thick slices of card sandwiched in between there, taped up, wrapped tightly in plastic. That is how to pack a vinyl record. Superb stuff. Right, there we go. That's what, 6 thrash metal albums I've been listening to this week. My ears are hurting. It's been absolutely superb. Let me know what you think of these thrash metal albums, and leave a comment below. Catch you soon.